What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected icons goes head-to-head with a talk show host who thrives on provocation? Tonight, you're about to witness a television moment unlike any other, where integrity confronts ego and restraint collides with ridicule. Before we dive into this unforgettable exchange between Denzel Washington and Bill Maher, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because this story will challenge everything you think you know about celebrity, truth, and the power of holding your ground. The studio lights buzzed overhead as Denzel Washington took his seat across from Bill Maher. The energy in the room was electric, not with excitement, but with unease. The audience sensed it. This wasn't going to be just another interview. Maher leaned back, his signature smirk already forming. "Denzel, welcome to the show. I have to say, it's a rare pleasure to sit across from someone who's actually done something meaningful. Unlike the parade of actors who come here pitching their latest ego trip." Denzel raised an eyebrow. Not offended, not surprised, just alert. "Appreciate you having me, Bill. Though I'd say anyone sitting in this chair has done something worth paying attention to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here, would they?" Maher chuckled. "That's where we differ. See, what I like about you is, you're still dignified. Most of today's actors, they're influencers with agents. All style, no soul." The flattery came with barbs, and Denzel could hear them loud and clear. He replied coolly, "I think you're underestimating a generation, Bill. There are artists doing brilliant work in new spaces. Just because the format changes doesn't mean the message isn't powerful." Maher scoffed. "Come on, Denzel. TikTok dancers, Instagram lip syncers. That's not art. That's brand management in sweatpants." "No," Denzel said calmly. "That's evolution. Art has never stood still. From cave walls to streaming screens, we've always found new ways to tell human stories. Dismissing an entire generation because they use different tools isn't insightful. It's lazy." The audience murmured. Maher leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Denzel, you spent decades perfecting your craft. You did Shakespeare in the park. You earned your voice. Don't tell me some 22-year-old mouthing words on a phone screen is in the same league." Denzel didn't blink. His tone sharpened, but never lost control. "I'm not saying they're in the same lane. I'm saying they deserve respect. Just like I did when I was broke and grinding stage to stage. Art is about connection, not credentials." Maher grinned, "But it was all teeth now. That's generous of you. But here's my problem. People throw the word artist around like it means nothing. There's no craft anymore, just followers." Denzel leaned in slightly, voice steady. "You keep using that word, craft, like it's exclusive, like it belongs to some secret club. But true craftsmanship isn't about gatekeeping. It's about humility, growth, and honoring every voice brave enough to speak." Maher's smirk flickered. The energy in the room shifted. The game was no longer going his way. "All right then, tell me this. What exactly have they created that moves the world? What's the great cultural contribution from TikTok this year? Who made you the judge of what moves the world?" Denzel asked, his voice now edged with steel. "You sit here every week passing verdicts from behind a desk, tearing down people you've never met, questioning their worth like it's a punchline." The audience went quiet. Maher's grin faltered. "I created this platform so we could have honest conversations, without the Hollywood polish." Denzel chuckled softly. "No warmth. You created a platform, yes. But let's not pretend this is about truth. What you call honest conversation is often just cruelty in a blazer. You don't invite guests to learn. You invite them to spar, to bait, to perform." Maher sat up straighter, color rising in his face. "I push people because the world needs pushback. If someone can't handle a few tough questions, maybe they shouldn't be on TV." Denzel's tone dropped. Calmer, deeper, more dangerous. Pushback is one thing. But what you do, you strip away context. You twist nuance into clickbait. You don't push for truth, Bill. You dig for a soundbite. Maher leaned back, trying to recover his composure. Denzel, I think you're taking this a bit too personally. I'm just trying to have a real conversation about the state of culture, of entertainment. Denzel didn't flinch. His voice was calm, but the edge in it was unmistakable. No, Bill. What you're doing is what you always do. You play the role of the enlightened cynic, perched above the rest of us, looking down with that smug detachment. But let me tell you something. Wisdom doesn't come from tearing people down. It comes from lifting people up. The room went still. The laughter and applause that usually filled Maher's studio were gone, replaced by something heavier. Something real. Maher bristled, eyes narrowing. He pushed back harder, lifting people up. That's exactly the kind of feel, good fluff that's killing real dialogue in this country. Sometimes people need to be confronted. Sometimes the truth hurts. Denzel's gaze hardened. A flash of something dangerous crossed his face, controlled, but unmistakable. And who made you the gatekeeper of truth, Bill? You talk about honesty, but your entire shtick is built on cynicism and division. You don't offer clarity. You offer cruelty, dressed up as intellect. Maher's face twisted into a smirk, but his eyes betrayed him. He was rattled. Cruelty. Please. You know what's cruel? Pretending every opinion carries equal weight when half the people out there haven't done a damn ounce of thinking. That's not compassion. That's cowardice. Denzel's voice dropped to a low, razor-sharp whisper. You want to talk about dishonesty? The only thing dishonest here is you pretending your condescension is some kind of noble service. You're not a truth teller, Bill. You're a bully with a spotlight. The audience gasped. For a moment, even the studio lights seemed to dim. No one had ever spoken to Bill Maher like that on his own turf. Maher's jaw clenched. His smugness cracked. I'm a bully. Because I expect people to think instead of nodding along with whatever narrative makes them feel good. Because I don't hand out participation trophies for having feelings. Denzel didn't blink. His voice was steady, controlled, devastating. No, you're a bully because you use this platform not to invite conversation, but to humiliate people. You don't want dialogue. You want a headline. A viral clip. You're not serving truth. You're feeding the algorithm. Maher shot up from his chair, his voice raised, his face red. Viral clip? I was doing serious commentary before social media existed. Don't sit there and lecture me on authenticity when you've spent your entire life pretending to be other people. The insult landed like a slap. The crowd gasped again. Denzel stood, slowly, deliberately. The tension in the room spiked as his full presence seemed to dwarf the studio. Pretending, he echoed softly. Every role I've played, every character, was a search for truth, for empathy. I've helped people see themselves in stories they never thought included them. What you do, it's not even in the same language as that. Maher scoffed, but his voice was suddenly unsure. Don't try to make acting sound like some sacred calling. You memorize lines. Hit your mark. I deal with real issues. Denzel laughed once. Dry and sharp. Real issues. You sit behind a desk and make jokes about other people's trauma. You exploit pain you've never felt and pretend it's commentary. You think suffering is funny as long as it doesn't touch you. That's not truth telling, Bill. That's sociopathy. Maher's eyes flared, part shock, part rage. Sociopathy? Are you serious? I've spent years calling out corruption. Fighting for causes that matter. I've taken risks. No. Denzel cut in, voice rising now for the first time. You've taken stances that look like risks because they reinforce your brand. You don't fight for people. You fight for applause. You posture as the smartest man in the room, but all you're really doing is protecting your image. Maher snarled, mask off now. That's garbage. At least I say what I believe. You're just another polished product hiding behind studio, approved talking points. When's the last time you said something that might cost you a job? When, for a moment, just a moment, Denzel didn't respond. The silence stretched. And then, you think silence means fear. It doesn't. It means I choose my moments. He stepped closer, eyes locked. And this is one of them. Denzel's composure cracked, just slightly but unmistakably. You want honesty, Bill? Fine. Here's some. I've watched you for years, mocking anyone who dares to hope, to dream, to build something bigger than themselves. You've made a career out of selling cynicism to people looking for direction. Maher's lip curled. False hope, Denzel, is worse than no hope at all. At least when people understand how broken the world is, they might stop reposting Pinterest quotes and actually do something. Denzel pointed at him. Calm, but blistering. And that, right there, is your worldview in a nutshell. You honestly believe crushing people's spirits is a public service. That if you can make everyone as bitter and jaded as you, you've done them a favor. Maher took a step forward, voice rising. No, I believe that refusing to lie to people is respect. Something you clearly don't understand. Judging by how you're talking to me in my own house. Denzel blinked slowly, then smiled, but it wasn't friendly. Your house. This is a soundstage, Bill. Not your throne room. And the fact that you confuse the two tells me everything I need to know about how you see yourself. And everyone else. I've earned this platform. Maher snapped. I don't owe politeness to people who haven't earned the right to speak on it. Denzel's head tilted slightly. Disbelief, then clarity. Respect isn't a trophy you win and keep forever. It's something you earn every day, by how you treat people. Based on what I've seen tonight, you lost that a long time ago. Silence. Thick, still. Breathing hard, both men stared each other down. Then Maher broke it, his voice tight and brittle. You know what? This conversation's over. Maybe you should stick to reading lines written by better men, because clearly improvisation isn't your strength. Denzel didn't flinch. He studied Maher, then nodded. You're right. This conversation is over. But not for the reason you think. Oh, really? Maher sneered. And why's that? Denzel leaned forward, voice dropping into something cold final. Because now I finally understand what everyone's been trying to tell me about you. You're not brave. You're not insightful. You're not even particularly funny. You're just a bitter man who confuses his own anger for wisdom. Maher's face fell. An open wound. Shock, rage. Then something far worse, recognition. He opened his mouth, but nothing came. The crowd felt the shift, like something sacred had just shattered. Bitter. Maher repeated, voice cracking. That's your analysis. What? You think because you've played a few tragic roles you can diagnose me on national television? Denzel stayed perfectly still. His voice was level. Final. I don't need to pretend to know what I'm seeing. I see a man who's spent so long mocking vulnerability that he's forgotten how to feel it. You built your identity around seeing through people. But the truth is, you're terrified someone might finally see through you. Maher lashed out, voice sharp and high. You don't know what I've sacrificed! You don't know what it took to build this! No, Denzel said, his tone soft but devastating. I don't know your story, but I know this: you think being feared is the same as being respected. You think making others feel small somehow makes you big. That's not strength, Bill. That's cowardice in a tailored suit. Maher's hands were trembling. The facade had shattered. His next line came out choked. You think playing dress up for a living makes you profound. Denzel's response was slow, quiet, lethal. No, Bill. I think listening makes you profound. I think empathy does, and storytelling. It doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but it invites people to feel. That's something you clearly forgot how to do a long time ago. Maher laughed once. So what now? You going to walk out and play the hero? Denzel stood, tall, steady, unshaken. No. I'm going to walk out and be the man I was before I sat down. And you're going to sit here and realize this was the moment people stopped laughing with you and started realizing they were laughing at you. He turned and walked off the stage. The crowd didn't clap. They just watched, stunned as the man with all the power lost control. Not because someone shouted him down, but because someone stood up and didn't flinch. Denzel didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Don't dress it up like some noble crusade, Bill. Let me ask you something. What have you actually given the world besides division and cynicism? The question landed like a punch. The air shifted. When people leave this stage after talking to you, do they feel better, more hopeful, more connected to each other, or just more ashamed for trying to care in the first place? Maher opened his mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time all night, he was speechless. I give people the truth, he finally muttered, though the conviction was gone from his voice. Denzel shook his head. Precise. No, you give people your version of the truth. And in your version, everyone else is stupid, knave, or beneath you. That's not truth. That's intellectual bullying wrapped in sarcasm. Maher's face turned red. A bead of sweat slipped down his temple. Intellectual bullying. You're kidding, right? I'm one of the last people in media with the guts to call out nonsense when I see it. If that makes me a bully, then maybe this country needs more bullies. Denzel didn't flinch. What this country needs, he said, voice steady, is people who understand that intelligence without compassion is just sophisticated cruelty. You think you're brave because you're willing to hurt people's feelings on air. But real courage, real leadership, means lifting people up, not cutting them down. Lift them up to what? Maher snapped. More delusion? More fairy tales? The world's brutal Denzel. Denzel stepped forward, his tone unshakable. Yes, the world can be brutal, but it doesn't have to be. Every single day we choose. We can add to the darkness, or we can try to bring a little light. You've chosen darkness, and convinced yourself that makes you enlightened. Maher stared at him, chest heaving, words failing. The audience was dead silent. Let's just agree to disagree and move on to the next segment, Maher finally muttered, his voice cracking. Denzel stood still for a beat, then slowly removed his mic. No, Bill, we're not moving on to anything. I'm done here. Maher's eyes widened. Don't? What are you talking about? The interview's not over. We have 2 more segments. Denzel calmly stood. It's over for me. I came here expecting a real conversation. Disagreement. Sure. Debate. Fine. But what I found is a man who takes pleasure in pain. Someone who thinks making people feel small is the same as being smart. Panic started to creep into Maher's voice. That's not true, Denzel. I don't. Come on. We're having a real conversation here. This is exactly what people need to see. Denzel placed his mic gently on the chair, then turned to face the camera. To anyone watching who's ever been made to feel small by someone who claimed to be smarter than them, remember this. Real intelligence is humble, real wisdom is kind, and real strength never needs to crush others to prove itself. Maher leapt to his feet, desperate. Denzel, please, sit down. Let's talk like adults. Denzel turned to him one last time, his voice cut clean. I've been trying to talk like an adult for the past hour. But adults listen. Adults respect. Adults don't twist every conversation into a power trip. Maher threw his hands up. This is ridiculous. You're walking off because I challenged you. Because I didn't treat you like Hollywood royalty. Denzel froze. His voice dropped to a razor's edge. I'm walking off because life's too short to waste on people who mistake cruelty for cleverness. I'm walking off because whatever game you're playing here, I refuse to be a piece on your board. And because your audience deserves to know they don't have to accept being talked down to. Just because the person doing it has a TV show. And with that, he walked. No flinch, no grand exit, just silence. Bill Maher stood there, mouth open, hands limp at his sides, alone under the blinding studio lights. The audience didn't cheer. They didn't clap. They just watched, knowing they'd witnessed something more than a walkout. They had watched a man lose his grip on power, because someone finally had the courage not to play along.